The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If, but what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other passengers.
She hadn't intended to take a nap, then?
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months? I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir. Obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship. Captain DeConti is sitting at the bar again. He gave me the glass of champagne last night. Hello, Captain DeConti.
Hey, Constable Zelna. You're back on your feet again. Glad to see it.
What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long.
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when the alarm goes off, I lose the battle.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. She definitely wanted to stay in the saloon. But then she realized that she really did need to lie down. We left together. You know the rest of the story.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from, did anyone else drink from it?
Certainly.
We have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who... Of course, he had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down, so that he could examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand. Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few regulars on board, and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a talented violinist, and Lady Westmacott. But you already know them from the train.
It seems like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey, that's what it's about.
I'll get back to my investigations now.
Ciao, Constable.
Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Lady Westmacott, already on your oh.
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end. Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's quite romantic. At the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues. That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance, Constable. If you find the mistake, you'll find your murderer.
Have you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion. Damnable old age.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one. How exciting.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered, but if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he impressed me, but there's something haunted in his eyes.
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Catching the Raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. As expected, fresh ice and tongs.
Constable Zellner, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? But bring the tongs back when you're done, otherwise I'll have cold fingers all day.
There's something in there. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place? Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the Baroness locked the door herself before she went to bed, the murderer couldn't have left the cabin through the door. So, the murderer must have still been in here when Dr. Gebhardt kicked the door in. Which is unlikely because someone would have seen him, or he found another way out of the cabin. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm
not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him, with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Ah, well, it makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him, since he's too young to be the Raven. Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. It's not fair. There's a magnificent buffet, but I don't have an appetite. Maybe a side effect of the tranquilizer. Excellent. Ah, that's just what I needed. Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce, drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zellner. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes, my boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
Matt is keeping himself busy with that strange game. He seems to be okay again, but I think he'd be running around all over the place if he'd really come to terms with what happened on the train. Hello there, partner.
Hi.
Are you all right?
Uh-huh.
Have you recovered from our adventure?
Mr. Zellner,
Hmm?
what's going on?
What do you mean?
Everybody's acting so strange, and there's tape across that door. I saw that in a movie once.
You don't have to be worried.
Is it about the man from the train?
It might be about the thief, yes.
Haven't you caught him yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I heard you and your mom used to argue a lot.
We did. Everything was bad. The house, school, the other kids. We didn't have much money, and I was always alone.
You do know that your mother would love to have been with you, don't you? She had to go out to work to earn money.
She wouldn't have had to, if Dad were still around.
And how do you get along with her now?
I'm always happy when we do something together on vacation. She has more time for me now, and I like my boarding school. I have lots of friends, and the teachers aren't so bad.
Your mother and Professor Lucien seem to be on very good terms with each other. Don't you like him?
Don't know.
He seems to be very nice.
I guess.
Lady Westmacott is all by herself in the saloon. Maybe you'd like to visit her later.
Sure, the lady tells exciting stories.
I know. She's my favorite writer.
She told me that it's not much fun to write detective novels. She'd rather write something else, but her fans always want the same thing.
They made her rich and famous.
I told her to write what she wants to write. If it's good, someone will buy it. And if not, at least she had fun writing it. Then she smiled and nodded. She said it was a good idea.
What are you playing there?
I'm playing shuffleboard. At least I'm trying to.
Never played it before.
It's easy. Professor Lucien explained it to me.
And who won?
We didn't play.
You didn't want to play with him, did you? Do you want to play a game with me?
Sure.
Then let's get started.
Oh yeah. What are we playing for?
I thought we'd just play for fun.
That's boring. We have to bet something. Otherwise it isn't fun.
You English people.
So I'll bet my brand new slingshot. And you?
I don't want to gamble.
How about ice cream in Cairo?
Okay. If I win, I get the slingshot. If I lose, I get an ice cream in Cairo.
Hey! Never try to cheat Matt Miller. So, what do you say? Ice cream versus slingshot?
All right. Let the games begin. That's it.
Oh, man.
The athlete wins the day.
One more time.
No, that's enough for me.
All right. Here,
Are you sure?
gambling debts are debts of honor.
I'll give it back to you when I don't need it anymore, okay?
Okay, but make sure my mom doesn't catch you with it. She thinks it's dangerous.
Miss Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standards. Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh,
That wretch!
Who do you mean by that wretch?
That stowaway! That new raven!
The young man can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
One last question, Professor. Do you think the eye is well protected in the safe in Legrand's cabin?
Of course it is. They assured me that it would take hours of work with heavy machinery to crack the safe. And if Legrand isn't in his cabin, Constable Oliver or I check that everything is in order every hour.
I understand.
I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
oh, of course. See you later.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it. How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a scream?
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And then?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well?
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
You and Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right. For the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour. You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a US base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well, too.
You are very lucky that the lady offered the position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
Lady Westmacott dropped a hint on the train that she killed her hero, Partout. What did she mean by that?
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished Partout novel. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, Partout will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons.
Everything is a potential poison, Constable. It depends on the dose.
Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that, for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, a sore throat, or a rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?
All right.
Ow! 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 Ah! Hey, Zola, what in blazes was that?
What?
Something hit me!
You mean someone shot at you?
Yes, well, no, I don't know. Didn't you notice anything?
I was riveted by the fantastic view. We Swiss aren't used to seeing the horizon like this.
And my bottle's broken too! Oh, I don't believe this.
The bottle is nothing more than broken glass in a puddle. If Constable Oliver gets thirsty now, he'll be in a bind. I should help out.
What do you want?
Inspector Legrand is questioning the first of the passengers in the saloon.
And?
It will be hours before he gets to the stowaway.
And?
We'll save time if I question him.
Would also save time if you stopped asking me the same things over and over again. I will not let you in. What time is it, by the way?
Got an appointment?
No, but I'm hungry.
Go and get yourself something. I'll mind the door in the meantime.
Aha. You could bring me something, though.
So, what do you want to eat?
Oh, anything. An apple or something like that.
There's ham and eggs in the saloon.
Oh, can't touch him.
Why not?
Sergeant Mills.
Hmm?
He's responsible for the fitness of the unit, and he'll chew you out if he thinks you've packed on a few pounds.
I see. Leave it with me.
Yeah, thanks.
Whatever Constable Oliver wants, he's getting ham and eggs. And just a pinch of salt for our friendly constable. Good. Constable Oliver.
Huh?
Ham and eggs, piping hot.
Oh, I shouldn't really.
I don't see anyone here who'd rebuke you. It was a hard night.
Yeah, true. Oh, delicious. Just enough salt. Oh, that was good of you. Cheers.
You don't expect me to wash your dirty dishes as well, do you?
Oh, of course not, Your Majesty. Could you bring me something to drink? Those ham and eggs were pretty salty.
I'm sorry. I have to proceed with my investigations. Goodbye. Let's see how long he can resist his thirst. Not long at all. Nervous? I would be too in your position. Who are you?
My name is Adil. And you are?
Constable Zellner. Why did you sneak onto the ship, Adil?
I wanted to go back home.
You're Egyptian?
There's no work for me in Italy. I want to see my family again.
And since you don't have money, you stowed away.
So what if I did?
So, it was you who knocked me out.
Me? Never.
No? Where were you when I was attacked?
Well, I couldn't take anything with me on this trip, so I snuck into the kitchen and took some canned goods.
Interesting. And how do you know when I was attacked?
Well, I thought it was yesterday, shortly before we set sail.
I take this bump personally. What were you searching for on deck last night?
I was hiding the whole evening. I wanted to go out and get some fresh air, see the stars. But then suddenly, they were looking for me.
Were you in one of the cabins?
No.
Did you see anyone on the deck or on the roof?
No.
And after we arrested you?
The English policeman put me in this cell. Then he left. I've been here ever since.
And you didn't notice anything along the way?
No, nothing.
What about the gunshot? Didn't you hear it?
Yes. The English policeman had already arrested me. We heard a bang and looked around.
And then?
Then, the Bobby was in a hurry to get rid of me. He almost pushed me down the stairs and locked me in here. He left, and then a short time later, the alarm went off.
Constable Oliver wasn't with you anymore when the alarm went off?
No. I was scared that the ship would sink with me sitting here like a rat in a trap.
It's hard for me to believe a single word of your story.
Because I'm a foreigner?
Because you seem to have learned our language in the space of a day. Accent-free.
Believe what you want.
Who paid you to distract us?
What?
You went for a walk around the deck and let yourself be seen. Everyone goes off hunting you, and in the meantime, your partner shoots the Baroness in peace.
No, I didn't do anything. I didn't want to distract anyone. I just want to go home.
You're a liar, and a bad one at that.
But sir, I'm telling the truth.
And I'm the Raven. Inspector Legrand will deal with you. He's lying like a cheap rug. But he probably doesn't know anything about the murder. Very disappointing. So I have to keep searching. What interests me most is the shot that was fired here in the cargo hold last night. Whoever fired the shot hit the crate. Did the shooter just want to intimidate me? Or Maybe he needed the bullet. The cargo hold also seems to serve as a changing room for the crew, at least for the ones who don't wear white uniforms. A stroke of luck. The lock is open. Oil-stained overalls. And here, an old toolbox. It's been through a lot. Hardly any paint, dented, and the lid is held shut by a wire. I'll take it with me. Some wrenches, a bit of wire wool, an oily cloth, and here, a screwdriver. I've got the screwdriver. That's all I need. Can't see anything. If the bullet is still stuck in the wood, it's too deep to reach with my fingers. Well, I think the bullet is still in the wood. I'm not a weapons specialist, but at first sight I'd say that this bullet looks exactly the same as the one Dr. Gebhardt gave me for Legrand. That would mean that the murderer also fired a shot here in the cargo hold before the murder. But why? Did they just want to make sure the old guns still worked? Or was it something else? And did the bullet really come from the same gun? I can only check that in Legrand's cabin.
That takes the biscuit.
I noticed that the door was unguarded. I just wanted to make sure that everything was all right.
Tell it to Legrand. He's expressly forbidden anyone to speak to the witness before he does.
Don't act like that. Legrand can't manage all this alone. We're a team.
Only until the end of this case.
Legrand already knows and gave his approval.
Really? So you don't mind me confirming that with him then?
All right, let's go to Legrand and tell him what happened. You fell asleep and then you left the door unguarded. Well, are we going?
No, but don't try it again.
Of course not. A lockmaster and son. Tough to crack. If I wanted to steal the eye, I'd concentrate on getting the 3 keys. Neatly folded and unused. Legrand hasn't slept since we cast off, nor on the train. If everything goes according to plan, the first time this monster is opened will be in the museum in Cairo. Fingers crossed. Legrand must have taken and developed the photos himself. He even made copies and enlargements. He seems to be prepared for everything, with access to more resources than a normal detective. A microscope. Looks like the one that Lutz Reichinger uses in his pharmacy, just more modern. There's nothing on the slide, and therefore nothing to see. Legrand must have taken them yesterday at the crime scene. Yes, that's how we found her yesterday, I think. I wasn't really myself at the time. Yes. The bed, the blood spot. The spot on the sheet is much bigger than the one on the mattress. There's blood on the blanket as well. A lot of blood, I'd say. Shot in her sleep. She didn't feel a thing. She went to sleep and never woke up. This photo provides an overview of the crime scene. No. Nothing suspicious. The blanket and the sheet are gone. I guess they're in the medical center. A rough diagram of the ship. Legrand marked the Baroness's cabin. Seems like he didn't turn up anything else of note. A masterpiece. Forensic teams use kits like these. They're placing increasing importance on the preservation of evidence. But not in Switzerland yet. It's a small lab used to conduct simple analysis on site. All right, what have we got here? Half of the tools in this box will be interesting for an archaeologist as well. Actually, forensics and archaeology are really quite similar to each other. The goal is to find out what happened, whether a few hours ago or a few centuries ago. I'm sure Legrand could work magic in this alchemist's lab. Me, I'm just awestruck. What's this? Oh, how practical. A hermetically sealed cotton swab for collecting samples. I'll take it. Fingerprints are overrated. Smart thieves wear gloves, or they make sure that there are too many fingerprints at the crime scene to check them all. For forensics in the woods or the open country, I suppose. No use on a ship. Aha! This is some kind of inventory list. For each chemical, it lists the chemical composition and a short comment on how to use it. And here's a list of the most important procedures. Fingerprints, gunshot residue, blood. I don't have to analyze the pillow and feathers to determine whether there's gunshot residue. I can smell it. And I don't have any other clues at the moment. There's nothing written on the bottle. I suppose it's some sort of stimulant, legal or not. Legrand has been awake for at least 30 hours straight, maybe more. Legrand's file on the Raven, centimeters thick but totally useless. We're not dealing with the Raven. Why can't he see that? Our man is ruthless, a bomber and quite probably a murderer. This file belongs in a museum. It's history. The inspector should concentrate on the present. This is the pipe from the cargo hold. Legrand seems to have inspected it for fingerprints. I can still make out the powder. No. Nothing to see on the end of the pipe that the attacker held. Either he wore gloves or he cleaned the pipe. Aha! That's the bullet the doctor removed from the Baroness's corpse. That's the proof. Whoever shot the Baroness also fired the shot in the cargo hold. What could that mean? Smells like chemicals. Legrand probably developed the photos in here. There are still fragments of the syringe that the inspector broke in the sink. Why is he pushing himself like this? Even if he catches the Raven, is it worth ruining his career and his health? Another alarm. It was tripped at some point, but there's no way to determine when. I always wanted to do that. That should be enough. Wasn't there something about blood samples? Fingerprints, gunshot residue, blood. Well, it explains how to confirm that something is blood. That's a start. You have to mix luminol and a hydrogen peroxide solution and then drip or spray the mixture on the blood. The solution turns blue and glows even if there's just a very small amount of blood. Okay then, luminol and hydrogen peroxide. Aha! Luminol. And there's the hydrogen peroxide. I'll mix it with the luminol in the bowl. Okay. I can detect blood with this mixture. The clear solution turns blue if it comes into contact with blood. So, let's see what we have here. No blood. Not the slightest reaction. If I didn't make a mistake, and it wasn't that difficult, then the spot on the Baroness's bed isn't really blood. But if it isn't blood, what is it? And more importantly, why didn't Dr. Gebhardt notice anything? He was supposed to have examined everything. I'd say it's time to visit the medical center.